Welcome to Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace, the podcast leading the global shift in transformation through frequency, quantum healing, and energetic mastery. I'm your host, Jillian Grace, architect of energetic alignment, and for 20 years, I've been a pioneer of integrating self-transformation for thousands of souls. Each week, we answer the questions that keep you stuck and deliver high-frequency tools to heal and evolve every layer of your being. Join me to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers. Okay, welcome to this episode. This topic is very near and dear to me, like most of them are, but this one deals with our children. It deals with the energy of the souls that we are leaving this earth to and how we're raising them, how we are giving them the foundation that we need. So I get a little bit passionate about this topic, and it is psychic children. And I say that, but what I'm not meaning is the kind of psychic where some people think you can tell the future or that you can predict things that are going to happen. And there are children who are capable of doing that. There are people on this earth that are capable of doing that. But I'm talking about the fact that we all have this intrinsic ability. And that ability shuts down as we grow and as we move through society. So we are going to be debunking everything that it means to keep that energy open and to keep your intuition strong. We're also going to be chatting about how you can, either as a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or, a friend, help assist in keeping this energy open for the next coming generation, understanding it deeper, and also how you can continue to open it up yourself, because all of us have very important abilities. All of us are open to the energy around us. And that's just not from a psychic standpoint. I am a little bit passionate about this topic for a variety of reasons, but one of them has to do with the fact that we all have the ability to be able to connect into quantum energy. That is science. And it makes me a little bit leery on why we shy away from teaching children quantum physics and quantum understandings when they're young, because they're already feeling them. They're already tapped into it. So I think it's a little peculiar that our school districts and that those who are guiding this next generation stay away from this topic. And it's almost treated like it's taboo when it's science. It is proven. Being able to connect with these frequencies, being part of that energetic environment is as true as the soul that's within your body. So to ignore that purposefully, it seems, and to not give children that knowledge very early on is rather peculiar to me. So I want to make sure that all of you, as parents out there, as people who are potentially raising children at some point in your life, as guides to this next generation coming in, understand these really important principles, understand what's alive within all of us, and also are able to reopen that and allow it to align and grow within ourselves, because we all have quote unquote psychic ability. It's not psychic abilities. It's not psychic powers. It's quantum understanding. And understanding those principles is going to be key to set you apart in a future that's going to be mainly run by a lot of technological advancements. So as technology continues to move forward, there's going to be a lot of holes in the things that we've been taught and how we should truly be thinking about things in order for us to be able to thrive. So we're going to gain back a lot of this knowledge that was once hidden. So for all of you parents and guides out there that are inevitably going to be wondering, okay, where do I start with opening up these principles with my child? I am going to be making it very clear. I'm going to put a list at the bottom of this podcast of different quantum principles that are science. These aren't theories. They are proven scientific processes that you can connect with and that truly exist and that we know are real. so that you can start teaching them to your children. And these principles are things that you hear a lot about when it comes to people who are the top in their field. So you'll hear about athletes, and they'll do a lot of quantum principles in order to keep their energy or their mindset in the right place. Entrepreneurs, they learn a lot about how to keep your energy focused, how to project what you want, bring towards you what you want. So these principles are already being practiced by people who are considered elite in whatever it is they're choosing to do. So not having this knowledge get spread to the masses when it's proven, when it's something that is happening every single day, is highly questionable, highly questionable. So our objective is going to be, how do we open up to these things? And secondarily, how do we keep our children open to these things so that we can really change the flow or the way our collective environment has been going and put it in the right direction? So for you parents out there that are wondering about the core principles to teach your kids, really important quantum principles that I talk a lot about and I give you all the tips on how to connect with. One of them is quantum entanglement. That one is huge. That one is a proven theory, a proven actual existence, and understanding how it flows and what you can do and how you can teach your children how to use it is huge. There's also the observer effect. There is superposition. There is non-locality. There is quantum coherence. There is wave-particle duality. There is quantum tunneling. There is zero-point energy. And there is quantum field theory. Those are all scientifically proven things that having information and understanding how to use them is life-changing. So when we talk about psychic kids, I want you to understand that we aren't talking about this intrinsic power that's given to some people and not others. We are talking about when you are a soul and you enter this planet, or when you are a child and you first come in and you haven't been blocked by a lot of the things that are taught in our public environments, you understand quantum physics at its core because you are quantum. Your frequency is quantum. So being able to deepen that connection as we grow should be part of our right of being humans on this earth. However, we're taught the opposite. We're taught to develop in ways that are actually going to shut down our quantum abilities. And part of me, again, has to always wonder if that's deliberate, because if we could understand our true powers as individuals, there would be a lot of shifting and changing that would be going on this planet at a very fast rate. And I believe that's what's happening. And that's one of the reasons that I do this podcast. It's one of the reasons that I went from working with hundreds of people privately each month to deciding that I'm going to step away from that and I'm going to get this out to as many people as possible. And I am so grateful for that, because there are thousands of you listening every single week. I'm absolutely humbled by how many of you are sharing this podcast and spreading this information, because this information is at the core of what we all need to know and should already know. So as I answer these questions and we move through this week's topic, I want you to hold on to the perspective of understanding that true nature of what we are, and how everything we're going to chat about that your children are able to do is also something that you're able to do. And it's just a quantum frequency understanding. It's got nothing to do with being psychic. Okay, so now we're going to go deep. I want all of you to take a deep breath, and I want all of you to suspend that part of you that wants to be critical, that part of you that was taught when you were going through school what was supposedly real and what isn't, and understand that everything that we're about to chat about that children are capable of doing is quantum. This is science. It's just you don't have the knowledge yet. You weren't taught this properly to understand it and to be able to apply it. So nothing that we hear about these children being able to do is something different from what we all can't do and we all can't reopen back to. Okay, our first question comes from Lisa from Driftwood, Texas. And this question is, my daughter says she sees colors around people and sometimes knows what they're feeling before they speak. Is this just empathy or something more? Okay, so every single one of us, we emit a frequency around us. If you were to actually take a Hertz frequency counter and put it next to somebody that is in a really upset, really bad state, it would come through as a lower frequency than someone who is in a very happy place or is extremely excited. So you are actually shifting a frequency around you based on your emotions. Now, when you are younger and you aren't told or labeled that this is your quote unquote imagination, so you don't shut it down because you're trying to be like adults or you're trying to mature, then you're able to feel those things because you don't have a negative connotation towards them. With everything that you have in life, your mind or your brain works in a way where it qualifies and quantifies what's important. So if you have adults telling you that's not important, that's your imagination, then you're going to stop your openness about it, your ability to perceive it. And what your daughter is doing is perceiving the frequency around individuals. It does not make anyone different than someone else. So your daughter and what she's capable of doing is something that most children are capable of doing, but they're either told that it's their imagination, they're ignored, or they don't even bother saying something because it's such second nature for children to see this that they don't even think they have to tell you about it, which is the beautiful thing. And then when they do tell you about it, what do most parents say? Oh, that's great imagination. Or, oh, you've got your head out of the clouds. Or, oh, you always were really great at telling stories. That's what the guides around them, their teachers, their parent figures, their adults say to them. And when someone says that to you, it's very condescending. And you stop telling them, and eventually your brain begins to classify that as not being important, so you stop seeing it. So what your daughter is seeing, Lisa, is actually the energy and the frequency around individuals. We have a light that is around every single one of our cells, and at the highest magnification, you can see that light with the naked eye. You can actually visually see a light. So we're not just saying this because it's some kind of a theory somewhere and we like to believe in fairy tales. That is the actual truth about ourselves. And when we pass away, when we leave this planet, that light that is around those cells fades out. It doesn't disappear. It collectively goes somewhere because that light is the energy of what we truly are. Now, from a quantum understanding, this is second nature. We all are aware of it. But when you don't understand the quantum, you think it's something spooky or something strange or something that you can't quite put your finger on. And if you can't explain something in our culture, what do? We try to demonize it because we don't like to not be right. Our ego wants the answer to everything. So I'm really going to encourage all of you to step outside of that box and to understand that what you're seeing and what you're seeing your child see, Lisa, is actually completely normal. And it's part of our genetic makeup just as much as our DNA. So encourage her and allow her to know that you do understand what she's talking about. You can tell her that you would like to see it as well. And she can even probably help you to open back up to that. Children are wonderful because they come at things with such heart that they have a really great insight on how to open ourselves back up because they're not closed off yet. So they can often say, okay, I see pink around this person or I see orange around this person. And then if you allow yourself to look at that individual there's a color surrounding by and you drop your eyes out of focus. So you bring your eyes out of the third dimensional pattern, then you open up your ability to also see that quantum energy. So as soon as your eyes drop out of focus, most people can see that light radiating around an individual. And that's the frequency that she's talking about. That's the frequency of what we are, and that's the frequency of what all of us can see. So I'm going to encourage you to almost turn it into a game with your daughter and make her feel empowered by it. Make her feel like she is learning something or teaching you something that's helping the two of you grow, because that is extremely important in order for her to keep it open. And she can also help you reopen what you once shut off. Okay, this next question comes from Naomi from Floyd, Virginia. And this question is, my daughter often says that she sees people who have passed on in our family in her room at night. She'll often be heard having conversations, and sometimes she gets scared about this. How do I help her? Okay, so it's really common for children to be able to see the energy of beings that are around them that are not just in this 3D plain sight view. Again, because they're not closed down towards it. It's that simple. It's got nothing to do with a special genetic makeup. It's because no one has usually impressed upon them that it's not normal or that they're being childish. Those ideas shut it down. Also, the ideas of being extremely analytical shut it down. So the more we stay away from our side that is very creative, the less we feed the side that sees things that are outside of the physical realm. And there are plenty of things outside of the physical realm. There are things we can document outside the physical realm that move around us at all times. Even the particles of what we breathe in, the air around us, it's something in existence. We don't see it individually, but the frequency of it being around us is there. We also have cell phone waves that are constantly going through the room. We've got Wi-Fi constantly going through the room. We're understanding that quantum frequency deeper, and we don't see everything with our naked eye. So when your child is saying that she sees souls in her room, or she sees people that have crossed over from your family in your room, that's actually a normal thing. She may not be seeing them in complete physical form. For a lot of children that I've worked with throughout the years, they'll see them almost in like a cloud type form, or they'll see a picture of the person who's passed over in their head, and then they'll see lights or energy in their room. That is all perfectly normal ways of being able to connect with the other side. And we all have the ability to do this. Again, we shut it down because of the things we were taught in the side of our brain that we are being forced to focus on and that we're being focused to grow. That's all shifting. With AI taking over so many analytical things, in order to be successful in the future, you'll have to be creative. So we have an entirely different landscape that's being born around that creative energy right now that I'm incredibly excited about watching take place. And I know a lot of people are terrified about it because it's change and people don't like change, but it's what's necessary because we've got to get back to understanding that core of what we are and stop being afraid of the science that's right there explaining plain as day what this process of being alive and what you are and what you can do truly is. So the best way to help your child stay open with this is to, again, treat it like it's completely normal. Don't act like there's anything special that she's seeing or anything unique that she's doing. And also to have her not be afraid of it. What I see happen all too often with kids when they're able to see different souls in the room, or they're able to see things that they're afraid that their parents can't, they start to become afraid of it. And the moment you become afraid, I want you to understand that you change the frequency of what you're seeing. So there's a lot of different frequencies around us at any given time. There are frequencies of really happy things. There are frequencies of really sad things. And that energy is floating around a room at any moment that you walk into it because energy stays. So if you live in a location where, there was constantly arguing going on, and then you move into that house, there's going to be this lower vibration kind of stagnant into the room until you start to move your stuff in and change that vibration around. Now, kids can intrinsically feel that. So when they start to be afraid of what they're seeing, which happens a lot, especially if the parent doesn't really know what they're doing and starts to become scared or gives it too much attention and really starts to focus on it and kind of act like there's something different about the child. Children don't want to be different. They want to fit in. So when you start to say, okay, you can do this, it's unique, it's different, and you make them a little worried about it, then they actually start to change their mood. And when you change your mood, you lower your frequency. If you're changing your mood in a way where you are feeling sad or you're feeling worried or you're feeling fearful. And this is what I see parents do a lot. They'll realize that their child is seeing spirits or souls, and then they will be kind of concerned. Like, should we clear the space? Should we, have an exorcism? Should we, go to an extreme here to stop this from happening? And then the child gets scared. So what starts to happen is like attracts like. So if you're giving off fearful frequencies, then you're going to start to notice that the energy in the room starts to go to that lower frequency as well. It's all about what you focus on. This is all about quantum energy. So as you start to focus on that lower frequency, then you're going to start to feel kind of like that scary emotion. And all too often, parents will do this with children who are able to see things and are open. They'll walk in and they'll start this new ideal with them that what they're seeing is not okay. So the best thing that you can do is first tell your child is completely normal. Second, let them know they're in full control. Because the way they're approaching something, especially with something quantum, it's energetic, it's frequency driven. So your way of manipulating it is to stay in the frequency you want it to be in or you want it to come through as. So if you teach your child that they're in control, So let's say they're seeing like a grandparent who's passed away and they're concerned about that or they're worried that it's not normal. If you teach your child that it's okay to say, hey, I need some space right now. I don't want you in my bedroom when I am trying to go to sleep at night, or before I go to bed, I will say goodnight to you and then you need to leave. When you teach your child to be empowered with how they're controlling those frequencies, you shift them into being the one in charge. And with all quantum energy, being in charge is key. And when I say quantum energy, I even mean that law of attraction frequency. So when you are in charge of your emotions, what happens? Things come towards you at that frequency of what you are projecting. So if you can control and you could stay in that happy frequency or that abundant frequency, then guess what you're going to get? You're going to get more abundance. You're going to get more happiness. And again, I'm not talking to you about these very strange ideals that are kind of, made out of being new agey. This is science, and it's been kept from you because you're very powerful. And my objective is going to be to reteach you that. And every structure around has tried to keep you and everyone in society unaware of this purposefully. That's the only thing I can think of. So I get a little bit heated, and I warned everybody that this was going to happen. I get very heated around this topic because I can't understand why institutions that are charged with teaching you such powerful things from when you're older and you continue to grow purposely neglect teaching quantum understandings. They're huge. Einstein, Tesla. Before we continue, let's take a breath. You're here for a reason, not by accident, not by coincidence, but through divine orchestration, and these words were meant for you. This is your moment to rewrite humanity. Think of one soul in your life who needs this transmission and send them this podcast episode now. There are so many out there who are silently struggling. Our role is to reach them, to ignite something ancient and true, whether it's someone you love, someone lost in the noise, or someone ready to remember who they are. This is your chance, because vibrational awareness doesn't just shift minds, it realigns lifelines. It reawakens paths. It reconnects souls to their original blueprint. Be the bearer of that light. It isn't just generous, it's sacred work. Share this, speak it, seed it. This is more than a podcast. It's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. Let's rewrite humanity together, one frequency, one soul, one remembrance at a time. Now we continue. So many of our original masterminds that created new inventions on this planet understood frequency. So this has been in our understanding field for hundreds of years. There's no reason why this shouldn't be the core of what's taught in school, other than there must be a reason that people aren't disclosing it. And what happens when somebody steps into their quantum is nothing short of amazing. Their power completely shifts. Like I mentioned before, if you talk to any major athlete, they will talk to you about quantum physics as part of their routine. They use it as a visualization of how far they want the ball to go or how well they want to do in any certain competition. That is connecting with the quantum, channeling in the frequency you want and bringing it to life. It is scientific. It's not chance. So learning that and relearning that is the key to the future for our children that are now entering a very different landscape when it comes to what's going to be available from a job standpoint. There is not going to be a lot of analytical jobs available, everybody. Your accountants, your lawyers, your doctors, it's a scary territory because you're never going to know more than the computer knows. But you know what you do know more than? You can create. You could think of an idea that is not in this known existence and completely shift the entire planet. And that's really what we're here to be, everybody. We're here to be creators. So it's time to step into that. And that's what we're seeing more and more of. And the more you keep your child open, and the more you teach them that seeing these different things and feeling these different things is perfectly normal and very, very casual, you are going to understand that their power will start to expand. And in a world that tries to push them towards analytics because it shuts down the understanding of his quantum frequency, you're going to be giving them a light that will explode and help them to be highly successful compared to their peers as they continue to grow. Okay, next question. My son senses when something is about to happen. He calls it energy storms. How do we help him to trust that feeling without having him feel burdened? And this question was submitted by Joel from Wallace, Idaho. Okay, so the best way to help him to understand that feeling without being burdened is to teach him that quickening. He most likely will start to feel like an anxiousness before any major event occurs. Teach him that quickening is actually a frequency exchange. Don't teach him that it's anxiety. Make it very clear to him that word anxiety is his enemy, because the moment we start to label the quickening of our own intuition as anxiety, we shut it down. So what your job as a parent is to make sure he has the right language so that he can send the right frequency towards what he's feeling. So instead of having him feel overburdened or acting like it could be a burden, say, okay, you've got a quickening. So you're feeling what's coming through in the earth. We're all connected. This is quantum entanglement. It is a very, very core concept of understanding quantum physics. It's not anything unique. It is science. So learning more about it is huge, but we're all connected. So what your son is doing is he's feeling the energy of being connected. And for some kids, that could be more extreme than others, depending on how open they are. And if it's extreme and it's upsetting your son, really great ways to help him to still be connected but not read into it too much is first to teach him that those feelings are frequencies. They are not him feeling something. He's aware of the frequencies. Second, make sure that he stays relatively grounded. When I've worked with children that are very open to the way the earth energy flows, the best thing for them is to be outside as much as possible. So it's another, argument I have with the way we teach children right now. We put them in these desks, in these buildings, we disconnect them from the frequency around them, and then we can't figure out why there's so many mental health crises. You basically cut them off from what they were. You taught them things that were not true. And most of what they're teaching now is actually going to turn into things that can't even be applied to their future successfully. And you neglected to give them the true meaning of what they are. So of course you're going to have these souls that are climbing out of their skin and don't want to sit there anymore. Who wouldn't feel that way? Especially if you're connected with the way you feel, because it hasn't been shut down yet. Who wouldn't feel that way? So getting your child outside, getting your child connected with nature, getting your child to understand what he's feeling and honor it and not fear it. Those are all really great ways of helping him to expand and helping him to keep that energy flowing. Okay, this next question comes from Sherry from New Harmony, Indiana. And first I want to say, everybody, these questions for this particular topic were amazing. And me and my assistant really struggled trying to pick out ones that would really encompass the answer to a lot of the questions. So every question that I answer, it's based towards the individual who wrote it, but it also has reverberating energy for everybody who is asked any of these questions, because they all sort of come together to answer all of your questions collectively. This question was really great. Okay, and they all are. So thank you guys so much. Keep the questions up. JillianGrace.com/ask. That's where you submit your questions, and we get hundreds a day, would you say? Sorry, I'm just, getting a thumbs up here from my assistant. We get hundreds of questions a day from people, and they're all going to be answered in some way, shape, or form as we continue with this podcast, but it's really amazing. Okay, so Sherry writes, my daughter refuses to wear certain fabrics. She says they mess with her energy. Could she be vibrationally sensitive? So different fabrics do carry different frequencies. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you, or many people, have seen kind of that Hertz frequency chart that's floating around somewhere in social media about how each fabric gives off a certain Hertz frequency. And a lot of the fabrics that we wear now have lower frequencies. Kids can be very susceptible to feeling this because they have very high frequencies. They haven't really been broken down into lower vibrations yet. So they can have a lot of textural issues with with different things that are on their body. And there are different elements that are inside of every single one of the different things that you put on your body that change the way the frequency flows. Like, for example, if you're wearing nylon, it has a very low hertz frequency. If you actually were to walk over and hold a hertz frequency calculator to it, it would show that it was a lower hertz frequency. And then if you have certain organic things or pure silk, then that's going to have a very high frequency. Kids can feel that. Is that important to keep your intuition open? Well, it depends on how you look at it. I am really connected to the concept of you have to be of this earth. There's a reason that we all came here. So you can't just ignore some of the things that we have in front of us and deny yourself things that you might be drawn to because you're afraid of them. That's not the right answer. That's a lower frequency. So for me, I'm always going to encourage people, and I'm going to encourage parents to let your kid be drawn to what they're drawn to. Your job is a guide to help promote them to be able to understand things on a deeper level. And if they're more drawn to wearing certain fabrics as opposed to others, then it must mean that they're a little bit more sensitive to the frequencies within them. Honor that. It may not always be that way, and it's okay if it is. But you don't have to wear a certain frequency in order to honor your spiritual depth. And I know that a lot of philosophies out there really incorporate that. But to me, I'm not about limits. I'm about you can control your vibration. You can control it in the best and the worst of scenarios. That's what being a creator is. And thinking that outside forces are going to heavily affect that is going to cause it to affect that. So that's one of the reasons why I work so hard to let all of you know, okay, we have this understanding. I'm not just speaking about these rogue concepts that are based in New Age principles. I'm giving you quantum science. And quantum science is scary for a lot of people that want to give their free will away to different institutions and different belief systems and different theologies and different governmental constructs, because it's hard to take responsibility. It causes you to have to step up to the plate. And that is uncomfortable for a lot of people, I understand. But the truth of the matter is, what we chat about on every single one of these episodes is science. And it's science based on the actual science that if you study quantum physics and understanding that you can have yourself. So knowing that and being able to apply that, it opens up that creative spectrum within your frequency, because you realize that you're bigger than you are and that you're connected to all that is. So therefore, you can start to open up your reality into all sorts of different realms that better suit you than what you've been told you need to do in order to, quote unquote, make it on this planet. So that's always my goal. But your daughter's definitely feeling those things, and you can decide about how you want to allow her to connect with them or how you want to allow her to honor that, and know that it can just be for a period of time she'll be that way, or it may be for her life. But either way, she is actually talking about something that is very viable, and it will be your choice on how you work at it between you and your daughter in order to help her grow. All right, this last question, which I'm going a little over time on this episode because it was such a big episode and there were so many different questions that came in that were really great and just covered so many different topics. This last question comes from Brian from Lanesboro, Minnesota, and it is, our 9-year-old says she remembers being someone else in a different time. She's calm and clear when she talks about it. How do we honor this? Okay, so in the world of all there is and all we are connected by quantum entanglement with everything that's ever occurred on this planet, with every frequency that's available to us. So it is extremely common for children to be able to tap into those frequencies, and it's extremely common for children to be able to tap into our ancient memories because they're open to those vibrations and they're present on this planet at all times. I do realize that that's a lot of words, and I don't want to confuse anybody, but basically what I'm saying is they're going to remember a lot of the history on this planet, especially if someone in their soul group was on this planet before and experienced some of that history. So your job as a parent is to encourage them to take notes, encourage them to journal when they have certain things that come up around those lifetimes, to write them down, and to keep that pathway open. Is there a lot, and I'm big on, okay, but how is this going to help? How are we going to apply this? How is this going to make a difference in our future? And if having that information is going to significantly help our child to work through something that maybe is in their karma or in their understanding that they need to experience, then I'm all for that. But if it's just a memory to have a memory, it's wonderful to know that we're bigger than just the soul that's here, that we are connected to many other souls. So we have the memory of all of the souls within our soul group. And that power of knowing that you're bigger than just that small fragment of what you think you are as a human is a wonderful thing for a child to know. But I wouldn't get too stuck in it, because I've seen this happen with children that I've worked with. When the parents read into something too much, that's when the child starts to almost feel validated or loved more because they can do A, B, and C. And then you start to change that it's a natural thing for them to understand, and you turn it almost into something that they do to get attention. And that's a boundary you don't want to cross with as a parent. You want to make sure that your child feels loved at all levels, regardless of how they feel. And you also want to honor that they have these memories, but you don't want to have them build a life on these memories or become the identity of someone who just has these memories, because they're here to have their own life experience. So encourage them to keep notes, encourage them to keep that door open, encourage them if there's anything in specific that comes up around that lifetime that they may or may not want to pay attention to deeper, encourage them to explore that further. But don't only promote that and don't get too close into it. Allow them to understand they are more than just the soul that's here in front of them, and have them expand more into understanding that whole quantum realm as opposed to just a past life realm, because that quantum realm they can use in order to move forward. And that's the best part. They can take that knowledge and they can apply it to their activities moving forward to really begin to architect their reality. And that's one of the reasons why the name of my book is The Vibrational Architect's Handbook, because architecting your reality is going to be what the future of what we understand that we're capable of doing and how it gets applied. And that architecture of reality is something that a lot of people who are at the top in their field have already been doing. If you read any of the stories about people who have had major accomplishments in their life, they talk about that connecting vibration, that just knowing it's going to happen, that being able to kind of fake it till you make it and truly believe in yourself and to the point that it shows up. That's all quantum frequencies, everybody. And we all deserve that knowledge. So as your child grows, I encourage you to not have them be too invested in their past experiences that were on this planet or the past soul life remembrances that they have. Make sure that they're aware that taking everything that's within them, the frequency within them that keeps them open to that information, also can be applied to being able to manifest and bring things towards them, being able to use that quantum frequency in order for their future to unfold, because that's when it's going to become the most useful. And the key to keeping this open, everyone, is to make sure you wipe out of your vocabulary your imagination. Never say great imagination to your child, because that imagination is actually where the creative foundation comes from. And that creative foundation is actually what connects them with the quantum. It's what makes them more powerful when they are manifesting. And the other thing to wipe out of your language is anxiety. And I know that's a hot topic, so I'm not going to go into it in too much depth on this particular podcast. I will do a podcast on that. And I do talk about that in my book, Vibrational Architect's Handbook, specifically around anxiety and the word anxiety and what it does to a soul as they are expanding. But know that once you start to give something a label and your child that trusts you follows that label, that's how you shut down those abilities. And that's how you become a lot of the adults that I work with now that are trying to open back up to that. And can you open back up to that? Absolutely. I help thousands of people to do that in the 20 years that I have been working on quantum frequencies and energy. It's easy. It's just awareness. And once you have it, you can't forget it. And it starts to flow stronger and stronger. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Take a deep breath, because we're moving through piece by piece, and there is so much more to crack the surface in this quantum energy that I want to teach you every single week. Thank you so much for listening, and I will chat with you again soon. You've just tuned into Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace, architect of energetic alignment and pioneer of integrated self-transformation. If this episode shifted your frequency, share it with someone you care about, because one share can spark healing, alignment, and a ripple effect of transformation in someone's life. Submit your questions today at jilliangrace.com/ask and explore transformational tools, masterclasses, and frequency-based healing at jilliangrace.com. Join me every week to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers.